All the secrets are coming out today. We're here with the Legacy Antigen's second community comic, titled The Boy Who Hated Gibraltar. And I know, it's impossible to imagine, right? But this chapter gets really, really personal. And I have to extend massive congratulations to the artist for this chapter, BagelHero, for getting to work on this piece. And they have some visual treats in store for us this chapter. Their style is so lush and clean, yet it still has this nice stylistic edge to it. I am really, really impressed by this chapter on all fronts. I even actually really like the black and white stylings because this feels so reflective of a chapter. It really works to serve the tone they're going for here. But without any further ado, again, great work to BagelHero. Let's see what they have in store for us. Dad? Mikey! Hey, monster, you're awake! Hey, there's some good news! Don't freak. We're going to get you checked out. Who said that? It's him, isn't it? 7 years ago. It's him, isn't it? It's you! You're Gibraltar! In the flesh, brother. A real pleasure to meet you. Michael! Dad, you know Jill Crocker? This is so cool! Your ma's gonna be here soon. You know how she gets. Go pack. Okay. You have a kid? I don't understand. You weren't supposed to get here for another hour. When were you with, when I was trying to get over you, dumbass. Now I get to live with it until the day I die. Now, don't talk like that, monster. You're not gonna die. My friends are working on a cure. And let me tell you, Mike, they're smarter than... Nobody asked you, liar! Hey, Koa's trying to help. Why'd you always take his side? He's the reason you're such a loser. Damn, this is going in hard. And because of the intensity, we're just gonna keep smashing straight through. We'll analyze it all at the end. Whoa, hate me all you want, kid. But your father is the strongest man I know. If I had to live through half the crap he has... But you didn't! You got to be a celebrity instead. Imagine if all your fans knew the truth. That their stupid legend is nothing but a big fat fraud. We're here. But we've got a problem. 6 years ago. What kind of problem? Michael knows, Koa. Knows? Everything. The accident, juvie, prison. Vanessa found out I was suing for sole custody and thought she'd give him a history lesson. Every awful thing that's happened to us, traced back to a single event that's to blame for everything. The lie I told. The lie we told, Koa. And I let you. I don't know what's worse, that she'd poison her own kid's mind like that, or that she's absolutely right. Koa, stop it. Dad? What's he doing here? Present day. What's it look like I'm doing? Saving your life? Well, nobody asked you to. Nobody had to, Michael. Koa, you miss, and we're picking pieces of you out of the concrete. You can't know that. I can. I do. How? How can you possibly know? Because we're not done yet, brother. And you damn well know it. Now take the wheel and bring her down quick and easy. Papa's got some weeds to pull. We're coming back to that there. I love this moment. And the motion in this piece is so impactful. It's absolutely gorgeous. Nikki, no! Don't do this! Trust me, Koa. I'm the one who stole the bike. I'm the one who... 13 years ago. Let me do this. My dad lost an arm. They could send you to juvie for that. Or worse. I'm telling them the truth. It was me. I stole... Damn, that's pretty cute, man. You can feel the passion there. Nick knows how to shut him up. What about you? Your future? Your life? Don't you get it? You're the guy who's gonna save the world one day, Koa. And I'm the guy who's gonna make that happen. I hate to be the party pooper, but we're coming back to that as well. Present day. They actually said 50 hours? 49 now. In a little over 2 days, he could be... Oh God. I never should have asked you to come here. If you had stayed on Samathi... Koa... Shut up already! I'm sorry, but if I have to listen to another encore of "This is all my fault," I'm gonna lose it. I'm not that strong. I can't make you feel better, and my kid, and take care of myself. And I can't... He has to live, Koa. He has to. I got you, brother. Michael's gonna make it. And I'm the guy who's gonna make that happen. Those poor boys. We gotta stop this thing, Doc. Ka-ching. Oops. Shay says I'm a terrible storyteller. Silver? I meander. It's frustrating. Who's meandering now, hermana? Who's he talking to? Wait, what was I saying? Right. You got my attention, oh. Tell me your story. God damn. That's a lot of truth coming out in one chapter. And let's quickly cover this as this got dropped right at the end. We've already seen that Octane ran away from the ship attack in the second in-game chapter, which had already sort of suggested that Lifeline was going to be the one to go chasing after Octane and try to help him sort out his situation. But I'm surprised that he wasn't pushed to tell her himself. Although, Lifeline from here might still, considering what she's going to learn, she's probably considerate enough to try and get Octane to admit it himself so as to help him move forward, but he may also be in need in the kind of tough love that Doc has allowed Lifeline to be able to give him. I think she's going to be okay with the assassination attempt, to be honest. I don't think she's going to care too much. She's going to be more concerned about why Octane would keep it to himself. And I think that's something to learn. There's evidently more going on here than just this. I think this is being used to give us an avenue into something else that Octane is hiding. Even if it is his own emotional strife anyway, that everything he's done has been a result of dealing with the shitty relationship with his father, right? Why he's in the games in the first place is kind of just a direct result of that anyway, but this is just making that all the more tangible and exacerbated, or essentially exaggerated, if you will. I still think that Octane and or Lifeline could have something to do with summoning the Icarus. There's Ash's codes that they should know what that does. They theoretically would have been on Olympus around the time the Icarus went on its mission. If you consider Silver Pharmaceuticals, they're the kind of people that might want the plant in the first place. I think that Octane and Lifeline are a bit more involved in the grander plot than it seems at first here. And Duardo's assassination attempt, along with Octane's removed sort of doc therapy, are going to be the avenues into giving us that grander story beat with the vines, but also then serving as the framing device for Lifeline to get Octane to open up about how he deals with his problems, instead of just running into danger or sleeping on park benches hidden away from everyone. This is giving her the clue, and us kind of more of the grander clue, that Octane is far more emotionally damaged than he shows on the surface, and he needs help. That's kind of a big theme of the Legacy Antigen thus far, in that there's a lot of characters here who need some kind of emotional stability that they're hopefully gonna be granted through the actions of the people that care about them. Whether that's through redemption or just understanding, there's a bunch of characters here going through some kind of emotional turmoil, and they just need people on side. That's kind of all they actually need, but we're all so fucking shit at asking for help. That's a pretty damn relatable theme. I think that's pretty fucking cool. This chapter really digs at the relatable heart of sci-fi and what it's actually all about. You use all this crazy bullshit to show us what these people are right at their core, and that's some cool shit. Lifeline's got some nice stuff to come. I like that they've been using other elements of story to tie us into others, and that things are working with a flow as we go. I think that by the end of the Legacy Antigen, we'll be dealing with entirely different sets of characters a bit more prominently, once they've been given the right build-up from the other surrounding cast. And so now we have to get back to the core of the story, the boy who hated Gibraltar, and the boy who's going to learn pretty quickly that you can't hate Gibraltar. He's got good reason to, though. I think that from the background that Michael has been shown to have, especially how dismissive and almost kind of awful Nik was to him in his early life, like saying things like, now I get to live with my decision until the day I die, openly just like regretting his child's existence to his face. That's a pretty shitty life, man. That must suck. It's not something I've ever gone through, but I can imagine that would fucking hurt, right? This chapter is getting at some way more real shit than you might expect from crazy sci-fi bloodsport story, right? This is some cool shit. I really, really like this. And then it actually gets developed out even more sort of sensibly as we go forward, that Michael then, a little down the line, gets to learn everything about Gibraltar and Nik's accident from his mother, rather from Nik and Gibraltar, which, even if it's kind of objectively true, is probably still going to give him a warped perspective, especially when we see that Michael feels that Gibraltar is the reason that his dad is a loser. I think there is, again, a bit more to see on what that meant for his childhood and for his life now. As far as we can see now, Nik seems way more stable in himself, and I'm pretty sure Gibraltar implies he's part of the police force on Samathi. So he at least has a stable job. He can't be doing too badly. He's still well-groomed, he's still in shape, he's still an attractive man. We can see why these two enjoy each other's company, obviously, right? Because they actually genuinely care for each other. And that's something that Michael hasn't gotten to see. His understanding of Gibraltar is based kind of entirely on the accident, and Nik viewing Gibraltar as so important so as to take the fall for him, which has kind of contributed, as I've said, to how much guilt Gibraltar feels over the entire situation, and is a part of why Gibraltar keeps bringing it up. I really like that Nik has gotten to the point of actually breaking down over Gibraltar taking all that guilt on, when that was kind of the thing that he was trying to avoid in the first place. I have overestimated the impact I've had and felt too sorry for myself to the people that I've hurt before, and it hurts them all the more. This is kind of personally really fucking relatable. I've done this shit. I've been Gibby here. It hurts. It sucks. Like, it's kind of a terrible place to be. But the love that kind of thing comes out of, and the ability to reconcile over it, is worth more. To love each other despite that kind of thing, and while working to be better than it as well, it's a sign of a strong, like, genuine relationship. I don't think it's just me that can take something really positive out of this, right? Like, it's cool enough just to enjoy this for its emotional value on the face of it. Like, this is some really brilliant representation, if you ask me. This is showing a very realistic, naturalistic relationship at play. This is some really cool shit. I really enjoy how that's been done. But obviously, Nik and Gibraltar are not the only two who need to reconcile. Michael, as we were discussing, is the one with the real problem with Gibraltar. He again feels that he's ruined his dad's life, and to an extent has had some kind of negative impact on Michael's own life. I think that much is very clear to be seen. I think that Gibraltar forgiving himself and Nik realizing where his own faults lie, so that the two almost sort of swap their blame dynamic, if you will, to an extent, then I think that Michael will be able to understand much better, one, why those two care for each other so much, and two, will just understand the situation they came from much better. And he's already seen that Gibraltar is worth his own salt. Again, despite or even while considering the bad things he's done. Life isn't black and white, right? Even though the chapter is black and white, and that kind of balances out to show that everything really is a shade of grey. Gibraltar accepts his faults. He knows he's done wrong, but that doesn't stop him from doing good. Acts of goodness are not always wise, and acts of evil are not always foolish. But regardless, we shall always strive to be good. And you can see that Michael sees this, and I love that Gibraltar shows him, not through his words, not through moping and commiseration and accepting blame, but pushing past it through action. He puts himself at risk to nearly break through the ground of Olympus, fight the weeds on his own, just to allow them to land. Yeah, again, Gibby's not gonna die, we know that. But to Michael, for, again, the in-universe characters, this action speaks way louder than words. Gibby shows that not only would he always try to do the right thing, but he does it because it's the right thing to do, and because he genuinely cares for the people involved. Especially when Michael supposedly hates him so much. For Gibby to put his life at risk, at least within the context of the universe, to get him to safety, is a great showing of who this guy is and how Michael has kind of had him wrong this whole time. You can see the surprise in his face, and the blood almost makes it look like he's blushing about it to an extent that, yeah, this is one attractive man doing some very attractive, badass shit right here. And yeah, this is the face of realization that he's kind of had this guy wrong. That Gibraltar could never hate him, and he had never meant anything wrong. We can all make mistakes. How deserving we are of forgiveness is obviously relative. But I think if anyone is showing themselves as an example for deserving forgiveness right about now, it's Gibby. But he has to realize that as well. And Nik and Michael, especially more likely Michael, is going to be a really good avenue into realizing that. Which can again help then Nik overcome his own issues to allow him to apologize for how he has treated Michael and the life and the sort of viewpoint that he's given him, which can allow Michael to forgive him. That is a nice domino effect between the three of them, that they can all help each other grow. That is some effective character writing. I do also like that Michael regained consciousness so that we're having some more varied examples of how the antigen affects people, and it was really good to actually get him involved for this chapter to see how he relates his past experiences into the present, actually experiencing Gibraltar now. He's growing up as a young boy, do you know what I mean? So yeah, his arc of essentially maturing to understand the grayer nuances of the real world is really nicely reflected, both in the art style and through the overall narrative direction that we're going with here. That's, again, pretty damn cool. And once more to gush about the art, BagelHero's sense of perspective and scale I really like. And when it comes to Gibby, man, I don't think he's ever looked so good. His hair looks so lush. Feels almost Mauga-esque in here. I like the thick line work that gets used, especially in this panel, to sort of like emphasize visually how strong and solid this man is. And I mean that on an emotional level, not a physical, well, and a physical one, right? The sun will always shine through. If you want to look at sort of characters embodying themes, taking someone like Overwatch's Tracer, who is positivity almost like distilled down into an overly syrupy mess, this is how you execute on a confident, positive character. Someone who believes and states it when necessary, and then does what's needed with a smile on their face. Personally, Gibby is a way better iteration on the theme of optimism than most of the cookie-cutter good guy characters that something like Overwatch pulls out most of the time. Sorry, Overwatch, I love you in your ways, but you have your flaws, okay? Let's leave that there. Speaking of flaws, is Nik still actually an incredibly flawed individual? Something I'd wondered about from his loading screen letter to Gibraltar was that he signed off the letter saying, "It'll be killer, Gibraltar. It'll be killer." He said it twice and made it like really emphatic. And then you get, don't you get it? Gibraltar, you're the guy who's going to save the world one day, and I'm going to make that happen. How do I make it happen? I cause a tragedy that you are strong enough to overcome, to redeem yourself in the eyes of everyone else, so that the lie that we told doesn't matter anymore. What if Nik brought the Icarus to Olympus to give Gibraltar an out? Same sort of idea that I proposed last video and sort of earlier with Silver Pharmaceuticals. Why would they want the Medusa Vines and the Legacy Antigen to be the only ones with the cure for it? Obviously. It's business, simply business when you look at Silver Pharmaceuticals. But it's the same pattern of causing a crisis to better yourself out of by the end of it. This implication here does make me wonder if Nik has something to do with things. He probably doesn't. It could kind of mar the emotional growth they're going through, although it could also show that Nik is still far more complicated than he seems on the surface now. Could offer further conflict for Michael to learn that his dad is actually kind of a badass, but also kind of a bad ass, in that he nearly killed him. Do you know? That's pretty fucking awful. So I don't know if it's going to go that route, but I think it's a nice avenue to create more conflict if they don't want to wrap up this arc so immediately and neatly. Like I said with Lobalore, it'll be more worth it if they take another few seasons to really flesh out what that relationship could mean as an intimate one, right? Same thing here. If you want to use this arc for these two to be more publicly accepted by everyone, and including Michael and Gibraltar's family, that everyone understands the truth, and because of the further actions they're able to put that aside, that's worth more in the grand scheme of things, right? You could then use Nik having caused the invasion of the Medusa Vines much later down the line if you wanted to create further conflict there. So it's something that could come up this season, it could not, if it exists, if it is a thing, right? As I mentioned earlier, I think that Lifeline and Octane have equal opportunity to have been able to summon the Icarus. There is a loading screen that tells us that the person who did summon the Icarus feels that they will be seen as heroes so that their dubious deeds will go unnoticed, and that they have a link to the Apex Legends. Which at this point, Nik still kind of fits. That could work. Lifeline and Octane obviously work as well, given Ash's numerical codes. There are obviously other characters to consider, like Ash herself, maybe Horizon, especially if the Medusa Vines have been genetically altered by the phase explosion, which could mean that they're producing some kind of weird sap substance that has similar properties to Branthium. There's all sorts of people who could have summoned the Icarus. Nik is just still, personally, a candidate based on the heavily implicative language that he has used. And as a final note, as we're talking language, I really enjoy how the dialogue was used in this chapter to bridge gaps of time. There were certain instances of repetition, like "I'm the guy who's gonna make that happen" was said by both Nik in the past and Gibraltar in the present, and the earlier transitions, mostly from Michael, repeatedly served to show how the context of that dialogue had changed. It's him, isn't it? It's him, isn't it? You can go to each and every transition of time period, and the dialogue that ends one time period flows directly into the next if it's not actually just directly repeated. That is a really fucking cool narrative tool to give impact to the juxtaposition of those two contexts, of the past and the present, right? It also helps the flow of reading through it, while really hammering home the point that these characters in particular are strung together and held in place by their past. How the present and the past seem to merge into one so continuously is not just to give us the necessary context, but to show us how these characters actually feel. Gibraltar, Nik, and Michael are still incredibly caught up in their pasts. Michael even in Gibraltar and Nik's past before he even existed, because of the effects that it's had on him. Talk about legacy, eh? There are some really strong themes developing now as we get further into the community comics, so we can see more of what the emotional core is building towards throughout this season. We have a bunch of characters who need to accept emotional help, but they obviously struggle to do so because of the legacy that precedes them. The world is a messy, beautiful place, and it's never gonna fucking change. But we can. And that's what's ultimately important. You've got to be the one to make your own sun shine, because that's exactly what a sun does. And with that, before I get way too over-emotional and sappy, this has been the fantastic second community comic of the Legacy Antigen, once more brought to stunning, visceral life by @BagelHero. Go send them your appreciation, they absolutely knock this out of the park. This is possibly my favourite chapter of the series so far, because of how relatable it is, how it visually represents its overall narrative, and for the amount of secrets it dropped and storylines that it is further propelling into the future. We learned an absolute ton this chapter, and I hope that we actually learned something about ourselves as well. So with that, thank you for staying with me, friends. I've been Euclidean Vision, the emotional support. Take care of yourselves out there, teammates, and may the glorious light of Best-Girl shine within you. Bye-bye.
Bye.